Genevieve, how are you? It's nice to see you.
Hello, nice to be here. Nice to see you again.
I
We're
know.
actually close in proximity now,
I know we're in the
although
same
one
province.
geostat. Yeah,
Yeah, it's wonderful. So
that's
this is Professional Point of View. I'm Haley Nagasaki. This is with Garden Culture Magazine, and we speak to cannabis breeders and growers in North America, Canada, the US. Genevieve has been working all across the country for the last 7 years, since 2018, in the legal cannabis space. She was born in Saskatchewan, Regina, Saskatchewan, correct?
yeah.
And I want to talk about that too because today is National Indigenous Peoples Day. And, you're wearing your beautiful orange shirt, so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact that today is the summer solstice, yesterday and today. And also just everything that you're doing working in the field. Like we were going to record yesterday and you had some stuff going on, and that's the name of the game. So I'm going to pass it over to you. Let's start at the top with what you were doing yesterday and this morning, and the ceremony that you had.
Yesterday we were supposed to meet at 7 p.m., which I gave myself grace, thinking like I usually work till lately sort of 6 p.m. and I could rush home and get her done. But we had a tractor malfunction, and so just like farmers do, you had to stop production and get the tractor mechanic in, and so I had to deal with that until probably around 7:30 last night. We had torrential downpours, which I've been praying for and manifesting. So I was like, yes, but at the same time, I was creating a lot of mud, which was causing the problems with the tractor. So
Right.
just another day on the farm with your ganja
Yeah.
farm friend.
So, and then this morning, what were you doing? You said that just before we started this, you said that you had a smudge in the field. Who were you with?
Yeah, so we were just recognizing that today is Indigenous Peoples Day. And so I work with a lot of temp people, and so a lot of them are from different cultures. And so not just today, but every day we're teaching each other about different things, different words, different foods, and then what smudge is, and teaching people why we smudge and for protection and for cleansing and just to clear the air and um, keep everyone and everything happy and healthy.
Do you call in? Do you ever call in directions, or do you ever work with that kind of thing? Like, I know that you're obviously very connected to the earth. So, like, in what way are you working with elementals that way?
Nothing right now. Everything's pretty technical just because I'm in a new environment, new learning space. But last year, for example, when I was farming outside on my own personal space with Katrina, it was, yeah, we would try to do things like, farmers' almanac stuff. So a little bit of science and a little bit of hoo-ha or whatever. And so, planting when the gravity and the direction is flowing down and doing root things that way, or pruning and cloning during when the gravity is pulling up. And
Right.
so just, I don't know for sure that these things are helping, but they're not harming anything. So, working in that way, or just simple stuff basically. Like I
Yeah.
said, smudging often, and I smudge for myself, so why not for these plants and these people as well?
Yeah, that's beautiful. How has it been living in Southern Ontario? You're with Mera Cannabis now,
Yeah,
and you just moved from New Brunswick. Yeah.
I love it. I was pretty bittersweet, I guess, or I was sad to leave New Brunswick and sad to leave the farm from
Hmm.
Katrina. Um, just, new experience, change again. I had just kind of acclimated, I guess, to New Brunswick. I'm just like a plant. I need to acclimate. So I'd been there for 3 years, and then I'm moving again. But you know what? This location is so beautiful. It's much more beautiful than I knew about. So I'm right in between three Great Lakes, which is unreal.
Hmm. Hmm.
I went to Lake Erie, and it was more ferocious than the ocean. So I thought I would miss the ocean a lot more, but I have all these huge lakes out here.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm wearing a big fish contest shirt from '87 from one of the lakes, like part of Lake Huron in Georgian Bay. So our neighbor used to have a derby every year in the '80s, and like there's a bunch of leftover T-shirts, and I found one this weekend, and I was
Amazing.
like, amazing.
That is. That's nice. Nice shout out.
I know, I love it. I love the
Ladies
Great
for a
Lakes
good
so much.
time.
Yeah. Oh, it's phenomenal. How has been, so you just mentioned the transition. How has been working outdoors versus your last, indoor experience?
Oh man. Okay. So working outdoors is not for the faint of heart for sure, because you have to be willing to be out here in all sorts of weather conditions. So you need to really love nature. People say they love nature, but let's see. I started
They're
out
fair
here.
weather nature lovers.
Yes, I started out here at the beginning of April, so we still had snow. So I have like, I'm actually interviewing here from my Jeep, which is where I was living out of for a bit. But like,
I
I
love it.
have, um, my winter farming gear, my like overalls. We have almost matching ones, and I saw yours. Just like all sorts of wintry rain, like torrential rain in May, like just out here tearing stuff down. Like we're restarting everything.
Gosh.
So it's been, all the weather conditions. So yeah, you really weed out the people who aren't, who truly don't love the outdoors. Um, but it's been awesome. At the end of my last spot, so this is my sixth legal facility, and after the last one, I was just sick of the EU GMP type regulations, sick of
Yep.
PPE, sick of the artificial lighting, sick of salespeople, sick of all the stuff.
Hmm.
And so I was really thinking about getting out of cannabis, like burnt out, I guess. And so I took some time off, and then Zubin, the CEO here, reached out on LinkedIn. I didn't know who he was, and it kind of just went from there. He flew me out here so I could get the vibe and like really make sure, because this next cannabis job, I wanted to make sure that it was going to be a really, really good fit. Having had already just come off of burnout, I wanted it to be challenging, and I wanted it to be different, and I wanted it to be a safe place and like not toxic, of course, and things like that.
Hmm.
And so when I came out here, I just like really jived with the people. I was excited about the scale up. Everything's new and fresh, and for some reason, I'm addicted to like coming in when it's all getting started on really low budgets, and it's just like it just makes it a little bit more fun, interesting,
A
keeps you
challenge.
going, like learning constantly, right? This is the
Yeah.
experience that that I have, but not at this scale. Like there's 100 acres here. We're planting right now in ground, so like corn basically, but beautiful strains of weed that we use for extracts. And then also above ground, we're building an entire 2 fields, fully ground cover, 35-gallon, 12,000 35-gallon pots with pro mix and nutrients. And like, while we regenerate some of the earth here,
Hmm.
working with consultants and scientists, like there's just every day so much cool learning. And so it's the best jump I've made so far, I think. And just the
Is this,
outdoor aspect. Any
yeah.
bad day outdoors is 100% better than, a medium day indoors.
Is this their first time growing cannabis outside in the ground?
No, they've been doing this for I think this is the sixth year, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so this farm is called Countryside Farm. I love that name.
Hmm.
And they do have different things on the market that are branded Countryside, uh, Greasy, Liddy. Mera has a few different brands here that the field and all the inputs go into.
Right on. Um, so then, okay, so with the rain, with the little guys going in the soil, or the little ladies, what happens if it's torrential rain? Like, do they get washed out? Do you have to like protect them? We've had so much rain this spring and now summer.
Yeah, I know. So May was just like completely rain, 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 rain
Yeah.
here. Rain, rain, rain. So we couldn't get any of the tractors, the disker, the cultivators, the tillers, nothing. We couldn't do anything to the ground. So everything was late going in. Like I had wanted to start planting the end of May because it takes a little bit of time when you're planting, acres of weed. Um,
Yeah.
so then we had an entire month of heat, basically. So as we were transplanting into the ground, it's like not ideal to be planting in 30-degree weather, dusty. It was like we were in the Sahara Desert some days. So we were praying for rain. Like these plants were going through transplant shock, and I was like, my healthy babies.
Yeah.
But the best thing you can do before hitting the ground is have them absolutely as healthy as possible so that they can withstand like that kind of drought stress, that kind of heat stress. The wind all of a sudden decided to be crazy for a whole week. So it was like, is the wind gonna rip these things out? Like it was like I'd race there in the morning and be like running out there to peep and make sure everyone's still standing, and like day after day they're still standing. Like weed is resilient. This is multiple strains. So
Yeah.
it's just wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive. I'm impressed by the plants.
How many, so you said it's a 100-acre farm, but how many acres are in cultivation?
I'd say we're going to be taking up about half of that this year. So 50 acres, and then the other 50 acres we're amending with organic inputs and under the guide of, like I said, a consultant and a scientist. And it's like a 3 to 5 year plan. And then
Right.
to
Okay.
keep going with regeneration and everything to be in ground eventually.
Beautiful. 50 acres is a ton. Like
Yeah.
oftentimes when I talk to people growing outdoor, there's like, they've got 12 acres or, 20. That's huge. That's a huge amount. So when you plant them, is it all staggered so that they come off the field at different times? Because I feel like that's one of the hardest things with
Yeah.
outdoor is harvesting and getting them off the field before they mold or whatever it is.
Yeah, so there's different strains going in first and then second, and then because we have one tractor and one planter, you can only get so much done in a day. And then that in itself is creating a schedule of staggeredness. So, like, we're into our second week of planting.
Gotcha.
The way that I did the clones was I received unrooted clones from a nursery, 1809, and they were beautiful clones. We rooted them at the indoor facility, which is a beautiful environment for clones, and then transported them 2 weeks later um, into the hoop houses, and they acclimated fantastically. Like, just Queen of Clones for sure. This year I earned that title because I got 35,000 at once, got to root those, and it was like day to day having to train a couple people so that you can start being in two places at once, right? As soon as they move over, then the new set of clones, so 35,000 move into the hoop house. Basically the next day, the ones are riding their tails to get into the one bedroom that I have, another 35,000, and then 2 weeks later the last load in. So that is a schedule too that will stagger the harvest because they're getting their 2 weeks of veg time and then out into the field. So they're kind of like 2 weeks behind.
That is bananas. That is a huge amount of plants. And I guess too, there's a ton of planning that goes into the different cultivars. So like knowing which ones, like the timing of them and the size of them, and that has to play into when they get planted, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I've been working with the guys from the nursery, Rick and Brad. They've been amazing at helping me, supporting me, guiding me with not just the genetics, but like they're greenhouse guys, like with tons of experience, way more than me. So for them to be offering that at like just I'm just picking it up, everything that I can get. So
Yeah.
it's not just me because this is my first time farming. Like it's not my first rodeo with large scale cannabis, but it is my first time using tractors and like I'm like become a full-time farmer, like a ganja farmer.
That's so cool. Let's talk a little bit about your experience and your history, Genevieve Newton. Like there's so much. And what you mentioned too is like you're learning. And I know we've spoken before. You were the 2023 Top Grower Award winner. You've got tons of recognition. You've also just been headhunted. So clearly, your name's out there. You're very well known. And you weren't always a cannabis consumer, and then you were growing it for medicine for yourself, but you were
Yeah.
learning and you were blogging and you were, were on the
Mhm.
forums and everything before you went into and you're still doing that, and you're still, rising. So let's talk about it. You were in Sask, and then you moved to Alberta. What happened there?
Yeah, so I will start with like when I was young and in my 20s, I weed wasn't even a thought in my mind. I'm from the generation, I grew up in the 90s where it's like there were the stoners at school, and like it was just very taboo, I guess, just like any other drug. And so I went into social work, and so I was actually a social worker. I started my degree in Regina, but then ended up moving to Edmonton, and I finished over at the University of Alberta, and that's where I started my kind of like work with children and youth. And so I did that until 2018. Um, and at that time, I decided to quit social work or quit family services, because I was pretty burnt out from that job, just from having serving, thousands of kids probably over the 15 years. And although it's really rewarding, it's very straining to learn and know things that, the rest of humanity probably will never know. And so I kind of wanted to get out of that anyways. And at that time, I was kind of a couple years into having been diagnosed with like a type of colitis or like ulcers, chronic ulcers. And so marijuana is what was kind of offered to me in a desperate time. And at that time, I was 4 years sober from all like drugs and alcohol, abstaining. And so it was kind of a battle for me to decide to use that as medicine. But once I did, I just like it saved my life. It saved my life physically. It just like it doesn't cure everything, but for that, the stomach issues and like the way it cured it better than any pharmaceutical was just so life-saving to me and valuable. And then also the people that told me that if you decided to use marijuana for medicine, you wouldn't be sober anymore. You would have to leave all these support groups and different things like that. And so it was a bit of a struggle, but I decided that it actually helped me in that regard. And so it was a tool that I could use to not run back to more harmful things. And
Yeah.
so from a harm prevention perspective, which I'm a complete advocate of, that's the kind of sobriety I have, which not everybody agrees with, but it doesn't matter to me.
No, for sure. And I've heard that before about, the stigma associated with cannabis in recovery groups and stuff like that. And you can't be part of the group if you're using cannabis. And it's like, well, this is helping me more than anything else. And these other drugs are sending me back into addiction. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like those types of groups, but it was also my psychiatrist at the time that was like,
Interesting.
no, like if you're going to be a substance abuse, person, then I can't see you anymore. And just, it was just like, okay, well, you just all the support, but it's like where a creator comes in and just clears your world, and it feels devastating at the time, but it lifts you up into a higher level, and for you to be on the right path, I guess, or
Yeah.
whatever. So that's where that led me, and that was cannabis. And so I always say this, but like I came in hot. Like to say I came in hot is an understatement. Like I wanted to learn everything about it. I wanted to. I started with infusing it and putting it in foods and infusing it in different oils and um, butter, like just like really trial and error. At that time, there wasn't a lot of information on the internet. I think it was like 2016. It's come a long way since, but that is the
Yeah.
reason why I started like making these ridiculous YouTube videos on how to infuse different types of oil, how to use a instant pot to infuse your oil where you can decarb it at the same time and not
Nice.
have any smell if you're in an apartment, right? There's
Oh,
like
cool.
handy things like that. And which kind of launched me into Instagram, and then just like different social media platforms where people were wanting to interview me on podcasts for home growing things. And then I joined Cheap Home Grow, which is growing with my fellow growers, which is I was an OG in that podcast, which was every Sunday, and it's still going on today, which is
Cool.
really cool. YouTube podcasts that I listen to where it's like they teach you how to grow at home at scale, like, and it's a multitude of different um, guys that are from all different parts of the world, but mostly from the States. And
Okay.
so it was just like where I got my start. And then I just decided that I wanted to jump into legal cannabis in Canada. And so that brings me back to 2018, where I quit my job as a social worker. I was like, thank you. Like, I've done my service. Please lay me off. And they did. And I didn't tell them why, because it was still very taboo. I was just like, oh, I'm going to go back to school. I don't know what. I'm going to become a horticulturist, or, I kept it in the avenue.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of took off. I did a cannabis production course in Olds. It was just
Nice.
online, and then they placed you at a facility so you could get a real taste for it. And I got placed at Acreage Farms in Pierce, Alberta for, I think it was a week or 2 weeks. And it was just me and one other guy, and it was a really cool master grower named Brandon. And I believe he probably made me keep wanting to go into it, because it was like make or break, right? Your first industry job. And he was just a really kind lead, like a good lead. And so it just propelled me into the next job. And so, yeah, I just sort of went from there to a huge scale facility in sort of small town Alberta. So I lived rural small town Alberta, kind of between Edmonton and Calgary, for 3 years at two different facilities, sort of working my way through, like, oh, I want to learn irrigation now. So then
Mm.
I applied for that job. And then, oh, I'm going to be a production manager. So then you're managing production and schedules. And so you just sort of learn your way up, learn the regulations, make friends with the quality people. Um, and then from there, went to the East Coast for a director of cultivation job, where that's where I won my top grower award in 2023, was with them, and also a few other awards for the pheno hunt that I led, and the cultivar that we chose. So it's been a cool ride for sure.
Yeah. And I know like so you won the award, multiple awards, and then you've been invited to speak at different events and stuff. Like I've heard you speak about organics at Grow Up, I think in Living Soil a couple years back. And I missed you this year, but I know that you were tits deep, as you said, in planting.
It's even planting.
So
Yeah,
I
very
get that.
still am. Yeah, that's why I'm on the farm today. Is because it's just easier for me to set up a little office in here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's Saturday morning, but like I love this, and this is sort of like a celebratory thing for me too. Like it's a really beautiful thing to talk to you on Indigenous Day and on the solstice, like near the full moon. Like it's just really, really nice.
Precious.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, so you mentioned just before you got into legal cannabis, when did you start home growing? Because you said you were using it,
Right.
but like when did that like really that love that you had for it, or yeah, when did that start?
It was because purchasing got like much too expensive, and so
Hmm.
I was probably spending like $700 plus a month, because I was buying like large amounts so that I could infuse, and because I was doing trial and error, there were errors, right? So it gets
Yeah, sure.
expensive,
Yeah.
and so I just decided, like, I had been gardening for some time, and I love growing flowers, and thought like weed's just another flower, so I'm gonna try growing it, and it ended up working out. I jumped on a couple of like forums at the time, and these old guys from the south taught me how to grow weed. My
Cute.
dad, I found out, was also secretly growing weed for like 20 years, and I didn't.
Fuck.
It's okay.
Hang
I'm gonna
on.
grab a drink.
Yeah, yeah, hang on. I'm gonna send them outside.
Okay.
Come on. No. Stop it. Can you just keep them outside for a bit? It was bound to happen.
Yeah, it was perfect time. Got my big frosted chino.
Right on. I have water.
Yeah, you
Already
have.
had my coffee.
Not yet. I'm just in it. Yeah.
Homegrown.
Homegrown. Yes. So, yeah, after spending, up to $700 and more a month on marijuana input into my bakery, I decided that I would cut out the middleman and start growing myself. And so, illegally at first, just in my little closet in my home that I shared with my partner at the time and my daughter.
Hmm.
She was a teenager at the time, and so I was keeping it pretty secret, just like my dad, I guess. He was doing
Yeah.
it in his closet, and I had no idea. So just like keeping it under wraps, a small little grow, and but then it took off too much. Like everyone, my daughter I was like, I'm growing marijuana, like, because then I want to put it in the basement and I want to put it in this room, and I got all these
Yeah,
grow
yeah.
tips and just like exploded from there to the point that my partner no longer wanted me in the home that we shared together for the last 10 years.
You're like, it's me
So,
or the weed, and you're like, I'm gonna choose the weed. I'm sorry, baby, I love you, but
yeah. It was very much like that. He's a very
yeah,
good man, but I had to go off with the weed. Me and Mary Jane took off, so
nice.
that's
Canada
kind of
thanks
where
you
the
for
home
that.
run started. Yeah, it escalated heavily with like, "Oh, this is my processing room." And he was like, "Ah, like fair enough. Like get this
Yeah.
chick out of here." So that's when I took off to rural Alberta. I lived in a camper for like 4 months, so there was no home growing going on. I was just learning all the industry stuff and yeah, just living life as a single gypsy lady. Like, I don't know, like it was a little crazy, but amazing, amazing time of my life. I did a lot of mushrooms that summer too to process a lot of feelings.
Nice.
It was great. Like, it was honestly the best thing. I
Yeah.
lived on this guy's farm for $200 a month in my camper with my dog Cree at the time, and tiny little lady camper. And he had these like huge goats. If people have been following my Instagram from the beginning, they have seen these goats. Like, they're giant goats that almost startled me at first because they're so like friendly that they just want to come up to you. And I stayed there, I think, 2 months. So every time they would hear or see my Jeep rolling down the gravel road, they'd come running to my trailer. They were my best friends for 2 months.
That's so cool. I love animals. I love hanging out with them. I like, I have some livestock now myself, and it's just that's the most fun. Like there's nothing more fun than that, in my opinion. I just, if you're
Yeah,
having a bad day, go outside, go hang out with them, like unplug, leave your phone inside. Yeah.
yes. I was living between Drumheller and Olds at that time.
Damn.
And so I would come home after a 12-hour shift, and these guys were like the happiest to see me, they're my fam, basically. Yeah, so
Drumheller
it
is a
was a
cool
good
place.
time.
As an aside, have you like toured and seen the hoodoos and done all that? Like can't like
Yeah,
hiking or anything? It's so cool. It's such like
yeah.
is that considered Badlands? Is that what it's called?
Yes, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Badlands, the dinosaurs are buried there.
Right.
There used to be this cool reptile museum. I don't think it exists anymore. But when I worked in social work, I was working at this group home, and we took them all on a camping trip in Drumheller, and it was super
Nice.
fun actually.
Yeah.
Uh, but we got to see all that cool stuff. Hold a big snake.
I love that. Yeah, I like reptiles a lot. Did you were you in the camper in the winter months or was that just the
No,
summertime?
no,
Okay.
camper. It's just as
I know, I was like
crazy. It's crazy. No, I had to secure a home. So
yeah,
I lived in a trailer, which is like a step up, I guess, a 90s trailer, which I loved the decor of wood, so it was
yeah,
very a luxury for me on 5 acres of land, super cheap, like it was best case scenario out there. And then from
yeah,
there, moved to New Brunswick, another beautiful farm, 66 acres, on the same land as the lady that turned out to be my best friend. So, like,
yes.
best case scenario again.
Yeah, it's stunning. And it's interesting too, like you are tending these plants and your garden and, farming, but then you also are moving with the cycles yourself. Like, oh, it's fall or maybe we're moving into winter. I have to move inside. I have to rearrange, my goat
Yeah.
friends aren't going to be there you know what I mean? Like it's interesting that you're also in the cycle like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. I
Hmm.
just like try to live my life as a plant.
And now you're here, and now you're in Ontario, and everything's
I'm
cool.
loving it.
Summer's
I'm
gonna
not
be
loving the
great.
living situation though. I'm
Yeah,
living in an apartment now, so hopefully that can turn into something better. But it's good for now because I'm here so much. I could
yeah,
basically set up a tent in the backwoods here, and it would be great.
yeah. You're going home to sleep basically, and then you're on the job.
Yeah.
And then you have who's helping you? Matt. You have what's his title?
Yeah, Matt. So that's another fun story that I
Yeah,
wanted to bring up is that
let's talk
so
about it.
Matt Smith, he was on my team at my last place where I won Canada's top grower. And so he's actually in some of the pictures because I really wanted to include my group of guys, my three guys, and some of
Which is
those
like
pictures.
the best photo shoot that I've seen that magazine do, honestly.
Yeah, it was pretty freaking awesome, those pictures. I actually blew up the one picture of
Yeah,
us in front of that big thing so that everyone got a big copy of it.
that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a
You
good
got to
one.
sign
But
it.
so I knew I needed help out here. Like this is crazy. And I he had left New Brunswick to go to Vancouver to try and get into weed there and was having a hard time finding the right position. And so we were still kind of keeping in touch because I had written him a letter of reference and things like that. And I was off for about 6 months in between positions and got this position and had already started talking like I want to bring somebody in that I trust and I know and I, have a handful of people that I could call and would relocate, right? For a good wage, right? And like that's the thing about Mera is uh, they didn't even blink an eye at like whereas everyone's in this not everyone I guess a lot of the places that I either interviewed or interviewed with um, they came in either really really low or they were trying to get you lower, right? Which is like if you are a cultivator in this industry you know how much lower the wage has gotten. And so it's just like no 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 no. And so when I presented like this is what I want, it was just like yeah, no problem. And the same thing with Matt when I was like he deserves a living wage and blah blah blah, like yeah, no
Yeah,
problem, people with the right skill set deserve to get paid, like imagine that.
yeah.
So I was able to bring him over from Vancouver. He also relocated to help me with this project. And so, big shout out to him as well, because we're doing this together basically. We're working 12-hour days and working mostly with temps. So, besides like our very detailed, skilled experience, we have very inexperienced people. A lot of people have been here before, but we're doing things differently this year. So, it's been quite the transition, like just trying to be able to lead, like it's a next level of being able to lead in a positive way still, like a full team of people that either don't like what I'm doing or don't understand me or, are having a hard time and can't communicate what they need, right? So, but we're making it work. I have another girl that I should shout out, Hannah. She's part of that crew, and she became like my right hand lady right away. Speaks 5 different languages and is able to
Cool.
help me lead the crew. So and just like certain people that just pick up the skills really quickly. It's like a feeling. They don't know anything about weed, but they know how to water, they irrigate properly, they take the care, the detail. Plant falls over, they pick it up, even at this scale.
Attention to detail and willingness to learn and the passion to show up and yeah.
Yeah, and just me being a little bit anal about taking care of the plants, and these are
Of
living
course.
things.
Yeah.
And it's just like I see any disrespect, I've kicked people off the team. Like, out of here. You get to weed whack or you get to shovel stuff,
Sweet.
Like nobody gets to work with the plants if there's a bad vibe. So
Yeah.
there was I
What-
think one day we were out planting and there was a guy getting upset about things and everyone was stressed about it and it was just like really chaotic. I think it was the first day actually we were planting and I was just like redirected him to a different spot and like people were cheering and they were like no bad vibes. It was just such a cool like moment. So it's like everyone is like that now, like everyone is like feels safe and no bad vibes and like let's just
Yeah.
get this done, work hard, like hard working for sure.
No, it's a huge, huge, huge job. What about the timeline of the plants this year? So some of them maybe like the milestones, because I don't even know too much about it. When do you expect harvest to be? What are the main milestones?
Yeah. So because a lot of this stuff is for hash and rosin and like there's some really cool stuff going on here. We're doing some R&D on like when to take certain things at certain times. There's strains that they've run before, so they can do a little bit more testing on them this year just to see like when is the best time. So we're doing a little bit of that. And then also, this is where I'm going to learn some things too, is that we're going to be harvesting for extracts, right? So that's going to be a different harvesting time. So we're going to be harvesting earlier
Okay.
we're looking for different colors, quality. This place is very quality focused. Like the vapes and stuff that I have tried are really, really good. So
Beautiful.
I expect to keep that quality going out here. And then my other goal this year is um, with the above ground pots that we're doing and starting up, I would love to be able to grow it such good quality that we have a flower offering. And so that's my goal is flower first and then extracts.
That's a great. That's a great goal. Because you said that you were doing some pre-rolls or some.
Yeah, so they use a lot of the inputs or the biomass for, I guess, different inputs for pre-rolls.
Yeah.
So maybe things that are high in THCV or just that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Infused.
Yeah.
Infused.
What else are you doing this summer? It's kind of a silly question. Do you have any other? Do you have time off? Are you going anywhere?
Okay, so I've heard that once the plants are in the ground, that things will calm down a little bit. Because then, like, it's crop scouting and, maintenance and weed maintenance
Right.
and, like, IPM, just making sure everything's tickety boom. Uh, and then irrigation, which is like I am just a water girl, a slave to these plants, and I have a gang of water slaves that are also a slave to these plants because the more we up pot and it's getting crazy, like the
Yeah.
amount of hand watering that we're doing. All the plants are finally on site, so I don't know my entire loss. My entire loss this year is probably between like 1% and 5%, which is crazy. So
Damn.
from unrooted cuttings, like receiving numbers to what I still have right now, and that includes the ones that are in the ground. Like we probably have 30,000 plants in the ground right now and very little depth. And that was through the drought, through the wind, so definitely all these people, including myself, having the nice connectedness to earth and stuff is helping because there's got to be some magic going on.
Does the rain monkey wrench things? Like I know I mentioned that earlier, but like, does that change your irrigation schedule?
Yeah, so a lot of them are still in the hoop house. And so the
Yeah.
irrigation madness is mostly that right now. So the stuff that's in the ground, we have a water wagon. And so on the days that are extremely hot, then we've gone out with the wagon to water manually like that. Um, but day to day, um, irrigation is from 7 in the morning until basically 4 p.m.
Damn.
Yeah.
You mentioned also the resilience of the plants. I want to talk about the resilience of your home plants during a hurricane on the East Coast.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like let's talk about the depth of the resilience of the plant, and then I also want to talk a little bit about harvesting your own crop and what you went through. I
Oh,
guess
okay.
was it last season? Yeah,
Last season was my biggest.
yeah,
I think I had my biggest plant was I got 1 kilogram of like baggable bud off of it.
damn,
Yeah, it was a big girl. That was
yeah,
the royal push. But so I've been growing outside since I lived in the city of Edmonton, and
yeah.
so I'm always throwing something outside. So the last like 8, 9 years, no matter where I am, when I was in Sundre, when I was, except for that camping time, I was growing wheat. Um, and so I always have genetics and that I take around with me. And so New Brunswick, I had to get used to the different climate. I love the climate. It was better, longer season. The flowers
Hmm.
look better. The structure's better. But as soon as like everything starts to get nice, hurricanes start hitting. So I wasn't prepared. My plants get really big, and then I had a few that were literally like huge stalks just like broke in half.
Damn.
And so the second year I was like, okay, I'm going to prepare for this. And so I did build like a few structures. I had rebar even, and like a big hurricane hit. And I was like, you could see like I had these CBD in the ground that were bigger than me, and they were like flattened to the ground, like just like the wind knocking them down. It was 120-kilometer winds. And I ran out there in my pink robe, and I was like propping them back up with like I think a wheelbarrow and like some big piece of cement, and like I don't even know if Katrina has pictures from her attic. Like, what are you doing out there? And I literally saved them though, and but there were a couple losses, but you know it got better. So then last year, I built these Hugo boxes, which is like Hugo
Mm,
culture in a pallet size box. So just like ripped
mm.
apart pallets 4x4. Built the layering in, so the rotten wood and the compost and the topsoil, and that's just an easier way to grow, less irrigation, that kind of thing. But then I was able to build these structures where I used pieces of lumber, whatever I found on sale, and then netting. So there was zero loss this year, and there were two hurricanes in it because they were completely caged in. I was able to like pull their branches through, so there was like trellising going on, and I definitely have lots of pictures from that year, which was just last harvest, 2024.
That's
But
cool.
lots of beautiful buds. And that was
Yeah.
a staggered harvest too because of labor. Because like 1 kilogram of weed off of a wet plant, that's a lot of kilograms. That's probably 5 kilograms that you're processing, right?
Hmm.
And so I also was planting staggeredly so that things, and knowing the genetics and when things will be ready. Some are quicker than others. So there's two plants that probably should have went 2 weeks longer, but
Yeah.
sometimes, like you said, you have to choose between you're going to get bud rot
Right.
or it's going to be early. So I was
Yep.
still able to use it for infusions.
Right on. So for the trellising and what you mentioned with the lumber, was that still in the Hugel pallet thing, or was that a separate? So it was in
Yeah.
that and then above.
So yeah, like each corner I would put like a huge, actually, I don't know why this isn't my Jeep, but it's like something. It's, you know, I
Ah, I
just
love
happen to
it.
have this 2x4 here. It wasn't quite a 2x4, but four of these, and then like full netting around the plant. So
Yeah,
now you have visual.
I love it, and it worked. That's so cool. And I also want to talk about. Sorry.
I just put my wood down.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about garden culture is we're B2C as well. So we're talking to
Yeah,
consumers and people who are home growing and you
that's
mentioned
my
your
passion.
extracts. What's that?
Yeah, that's my passion is home growing. Like I'm just like everyone that can home grow should home grow. Like yes, buy Mera products, but grow your own weed.
Totally.
So
And I'm right there with you. And that's how I got into cultivation too. Like I just was shown how to grow and then I got into home growing and did a little course at Guelph as well in cannabis production. But what I like to make an infused coconut oil and then I'll do salves. So I make all kinds of different lotions and salves and that kind of thing, and then edibles. But then also, and we talked about this, suppositories. So that's one of the best ways to deliver THC in high doses or any cannabinoids because you're bypassing the liver and the lungs and these places that are getting you high, and you can deliver more cannabis into the body therapeutically. Excellent for, I mean, I don't know if I'm even allowed to talk about this, but like different cancers and like even menstrual cramps and just that kind of stuff. Can
better
I
for
ask how you guys were
kids.
making yours?
Yeah, we were doing it just like at home, like with our own home grow.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was Katrina who is the master of all formulations, and so she formulated something that she was able to give somebody, a cancer patient and a kid. So
Yeah.
it it went two different ways. And so, you know, sometimes people can't edibly, like, I know when I've been really sick with colitis, like, I can barely force water down, never mind even just a drop of RSO oil or something like that. Like, you immediately start vomiting. And so, the best way to get it inside your system is a
Yep.
suppository. And so,
Yep.
um, there needs to be, I don't, we did a little like market analysis, I guess, when we were off for 6 months in between jobs. And that was one of the things that came up the most was suppositories. Like, why aren't there more, never mind topicals on the legal regulated market, but also especially things like suppositories. And they should be like, you should be able to purchase them at a reasonable price because these are medical patients.
Yep.
Like, you're not recreational, like maybe you're recreationally suppositorying, but they're most of the time your client base is going to be
Yep.
medical. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
it's just stuff like that.
And that's why, like, I agree, it should be available because I went looking for them online and I couldn't find anything legal to buy. I asked you about it because, you know, there's people close to me that have different ailments and I'd like to be able to provide that for them. I just made some really, they're not super strong because it was just like an infused coconut oil with beeswax that I made, but I want to try doing an RSO with, not shea butter, but cacao butter because I think that's it got it like a higher melting point, so they'll stay like they're easier to transport and stuff like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
they're
that's an issue is trying to
so
get them so they don't melt.
yeah. But anyway, that's one of the medicines that I think is really, really, really important that we should have more access to. And there's and also, you know, why can't we buy these things at health food stores as opposed to going into, you know, a head shop or like a pot shop?
Yeah, where there's so much stigma attached, like a nice little elderly lady might not want to go into a
For
weed
sure.
shop.
For sure. But yeah, this is so cool, Jen. I always love talking to you, obviously. And I feel very lucky to be privy to what you're doing now, and I'm excited to share that. What else? Is there anything else you want to talk about before we close out?
I want people to know that I'm still home growing. So, my genetics that I kept over in New Brunswick traveled all the way with me, like VIPs, like the cat came, and they are doing great actually. They stayed in solo cups for way too long and then got some nurturing the last 2 weeks and have all come back. So, I might flower some things out in the backyard that I have. So we'll see. But other than that, I don't know. I'm just living life, loving it, driving, getting a tan, a farmer tan, driving tractors. Like, life is good right now. So this couldn't have been better timed for me. I am so glad that you reached out, and it's exciting that, you know, people still want to hear about my story or want to know what's going on or just like hear my point of view.
Definitely, and it's such a unique point of view, and you know, there's not enough. I don't know a ton of women growers. I wish there were more that I could talk to.
I
You know,
know, me
like
too.
there's
That would be the other thing we need to shout out is all the female growers that are still grinding right now and still doing the thing, whether you're in the regulated or unregulated industries. And honestly, everyone that's still grinding right now because it's been a rough 7 years. Is that what we said?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so, and then also a call in to the women that are connected to nature and the women that want to spend time outdoors, you know, indoor growers, get outside.
It's so true. And that's obviously climate in Canada is a bit of an issue and there's obviously more, you
Of
know,
course.
US growers outside, but totally. And what the female has to offer is that you know, maybe I'm making a generalization, but the synchronicity with the natural world because we don't
Yeah.
we are it. We are it. We're the
They're,
embodiment of it. Yeah.
are connected and these plants are female. Like, I see it with my own eyes. People that are non-cannabis, they're all non-cannabis people, probably never experienced with it, and the women have a greater connection
I
than the
know.
men.
I
It
agree.
is what it is.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to see you.
You too.
See you.